everybody in your circle will play a role in your career somehow.
True.
And to think of that as a network feels a little bit on the surface for a business like this that really requires a lot of trust and just intrapersonal relations.
That's Dan Kalisher, a Los Angeles-based musician and producer who's played for artists such as Noah Cyrus, Sabrina Carpenter, and Grace Potter, as well as for American Idol and the soundtrack for A Complete Unknown. Today, he's sharing his insights from over 15 years of gigging in Los Angeles. My favorite part of that whole thing is the fact that you said your version of mastery.
Yep.
Right? Because you're right. Mastery, it's like perfection, right?
Yeah,
you can strive. It doesn't you're always going to want to do something else.
Exactly.
Get into how he got his start.
I got on my first tour with a Nickelodeon star, going out and just all through that first initial couple months, just engrossing myself in this scene.
How taking every gig can sometimes hurt your career.
You are committing to doing this thing. If you can't do your best and you can't bring your best to this thing, how is that going to look on you?
Why the scarcity mindset that plagues this business is a lie.
There's plenty of work for everybody.
You
know what I mean?
There is.
Plenty. Luckily.
It doesn't seem like it when you start out.
But there is. But there is.
The question we all want to know, how to get the gig.
There are three main factors that come into play. Number one is...
This one is for more than just musicians. It really turned into a music career 101 for anybody in this business. So stick around for my interview with Dan Kalisher. Dan, so you just wrapped third season on American Idol. You played recently on the Bob Dylan biopic. You played on tour with artists like Noah Cyrus. You clearly know how to get the gig. So how do we get the gig? What makes somebody hireable in a place like Los Angeles or Nashville?
There are three main factors that come into play. Number one is who's calling you for the gig? Is it somebody either that you know or somebody that was referred to you by somebody that you know? And somebody that trusts you or knows your body of work or your work ethic or whatever it may be. Number two is being available. That's a big one that
true. That's
maybe
true.
might seem kind of obvious, but being available for the work.
Yeah.
And number three is just your ability to do it, to perform, right, at whatever level it is that you're doing. So, I think that those three things kind of really play a big part into just getting the gig in the first place.
Yeah.
Right.
Can we go back to trust? Because that's something that comes up, all the time, right? Yeah. Especially engineering. It doesn't matter where you are. You need that trust. How have you found that you've built that trust over time? It's really hard to put your finger on.
Yeah, it's hard to put your finger on, but I think at the end of the day, it's the relationships that you have. It's just your personal relationships with the people that you're working with.
Yeah.
It's having a record of just being reliable, right? Not being flaky.
Yeah.
Not being, out of communication or being late chronically or showing up unprepared. It's all of those things professionally, but also on just a personal level. Do you have a good reputation amongst these people? Are you well liked?
Yeah.
Are you able to get along with pretty much everybody? Are you affable? Are you able to just not be a dick? You know what I mean? It's maybe I shouldn't have said that, but it's not being just a difficult person to be around.
Yeah.
To be with, because sometimes you gotta you gotta harmonize with a lot of different types of personalities, a lot of different people who maybe are a lot different than you in terms of the way that they operate or the whatever, and you got to be able to coexist with that.
Yeah.
So I guess it's just a long roundabout way of saying, that's how you kind of gain trust amongst people. It's on the professional side, being responsible, being punctual, being prepared. But on the personal side, like being yourself and being just generally a good presence to be around, somebody that people want to be around. You know what I mean? And that's hard to quantify, of course.
Yeah. Well, you know it when you see it, because it's like we both spent probably 10, 12, 14 hours in the same room with like 4 people, right?
Yeah.
And they can't want to like jump out the window by the time you're done, because then they're going to be like, oh, I can't believe that we have to work with Dan again tomorrow. Like, it's you kind of have to do it.
That would be like my worst nightmare, right? You know, like the people pleaser in me.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. But like, you know, and look, the reality is you're not going to like everybody. Not everyone's going to like you, but it's your ability to just coexist with that anyway.
Yeah.
And fortunately, in my career, like I can't even count on one hand like the amount of people that I've had to work with where I felt either that way about, or maybe they felt about me. I couldn't even tell you. Like, I've just been fortunate to work with great people, you know, I've been able to sort of just like create this this group around me, I guess, or foster this group around me where I genuinely like everybody that I work with. And I hope that they feel that way about me too. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, yeah, you have to be professional. You have to make it through the day, right? You have to be professional. But I do think that like if you show up to work, right?
Yeah, right.
And you're authentic in yourself, and you bring your personality to it, that people in the room, they're either going to click with that or not.
Yeah.
And if they don't, that doesn't mean it's a bad day. It just means they might not call you again. You can still be friends. You can still get a beer, whatever.
Sure.
But yeah, I find the longer you do this, you have the people that you like to work with. And the bigger that circle is,
right,
the more work you can get.
Yeah, of course. You know, being now here for about 16 years and like having a career pretty much that whole time, you know, your circle starts here and then it kind of grows and goes here, and then and then it sort of like expands, and then eventually you find yourself in this network, this like very large network of people where, you know, you find yourself working with some of the same people throughout this whole time.
Yeah.
And then even new people getting introduced like via those people, or, you know, it's pretty amazing how even being here and working in this industry for 16 years or so, you still meet people like we only just met, right?
Yeah.
Like recently, you know, through the circumstance that we have gone through, which I'm sure we'll talk about.
Yeah.
Or not.
We'll get into it.
Yeah. We recently even just connected, and you've been here for 19 years and I've been here for 16 years and
never crossed paths.
Yeah. Or maybe we did and we didn't even know it, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure we have a lot of mutual friends, and
that's how I found you.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Through
Dan Viafor.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Right.
Great. Okay.
So for backstory for people that are watching, Dan and I both live in Altadena. We met during the fires, unfortunately. And a friend of mine sent me your post about getting headphones from Slate.
Right. That's right.
And so he was like, hey man, this guy got headphones. You should reach out to Slate. And then I went to your Instagram and I saw your daughter, and I was like, your daughter goes to the same park as my daughter.
And our daughters were like kind of friendly.
Yeah. I was like, I got to hit this guy up just because of that.
Right.
So, which is, it's crazy how small a community is in like LA, but also how big, because you run in your circles.
Totally.
Right.
And a guy like Dan Viafor, total sweetheart.
Total.
Him and I have only worked together maybe once or twice, maybe like 7 years ago. And we're still in touch. We still talk. You know what I mean? I love him. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
And then, you know, he brings us together through this other circumstance, you know, so it's just like, again, to kind of go back to your question, it's like good people around good people around good people. Those are the kinds of people that people want to work with.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So at its core, how do you get the trust? How do you maintain the trust? Well, it's through, number one, you know, again, being somebody that you want to be around.
Yeah.
You know, and number two, having the trust of other people that you trust as well. You know? And so it's like, even though we only know each other, we've not even worked together.
Yeah.
I would be like, oh, you need this mix? Like, give it to Travis. You know, like, because I know based on your resume, and then based on our mutual friends, and then based on our interactions just here as people, I would have no problem trusting you to do something like that. You know what I mean?
I appreciate that.
Well, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
this is just like how it kind of starts. Like when I recommend people for stuff or whatever, it's like, even over somebody that might even have like a more impressive resume or more experience or whatever, or is doing things that maybe I like this music better. It's like, well, I know this person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I know the person.
I know the person.
And I know they're good.
Yeah, exactly. So my trust might go to them more so than the other thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That touches on so many things that I kind of like hinted at on the podcast in the past. When, you know, a lot of people are like, oh, why do you have your flashy credits or your stream counts? Like all these things people put on social media. But those things are, like you said, the validators. You looked at my credits and you're like, okay, so this guy works.
Yeah.
I know him because he knows this person and that person, so he must be a good person. So you take those two things and put them together.
Yeah.
And you would be willing to trust me to do something. And I think that is what a lot of people don't get.
Yep.
They're like, why do you say Grammy winner or whatever it is? And you're like, because that's a stamp for a whole other portion of the community. It's like, okay, so this guy worked on a record that got a Grammy or that was a Billboard #1, whatever it is, right? So that means that he's in a circle of people that are making music at that level. So he must be trusted by those people. Therefore, I think he's valid.
Exactly. And also to add to that too, it's like, it's not an accident that you got there. You know what I mean?
There's no overnight accidents in this business, that's for sure.
But meaning like, and we could all be as humble as we want, but the truth is, you know, if you're getting to that level, you're not a jerk.
True.
You know what I mean? You don't get to that level by like being an aggressive jerk.
Yeah.
You know, you get to that level by being punctual, by being accommodating, by being somebody that people generally want to be around. This is how you get to those places. Like it really starts there at its core. All your skills and all that stuff, all the stuff that you learn, your mixing techniques, your whatever, your ear development, that all just comes with the experience, right?
The reps.
But you put the work in, you get the reps in, right?
Yeah.
But at its core, just you being you gets you there.
Yeah.
You know, after enough time and just like circle building and, you know, like I say this all the time, like especially when I get asked like by like young like guys that are guys and girls that are getting into being a session guy or being a touring musician or whatever, you know, like to just like forget about the word networking.
Yeah.
I do not like that word.
It's a horrible word.
Because it feels like you're at a business dinner and you're shaking hands and giving out business cards.
Yeah.
When really the focus should be on forming relationships with people.
Music friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or any you know, whatever
or
it may
friends,
be.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Maybe steel players or guitar players or engineers or whatever. It doesn't matter. It's more so just forming relationships with people that are in your business. Even film producers or whatever, just because, I mean, not that you want to go and like corner those people and be like, I'm going to form a relationship with you, but, you know, more so because everybody in your circle will play a role in your career somehow.
True.
And to think of that as a network feels a little bit on the surface for a business like this that really requires a lot of trust and just intrapersonal relations.
Yeah.
So I like to think about it as like, go and make friends, like go and form relationships and go and, you know, meet this person and learn about them. Don't just like look at them as like a gig opportunity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Transactional stuff is just like,
that's just not going to happen.
Sucks. Yeah.
Yeah, it sucks. And those kinds of I feel that people that go about it that way quickly learn, hopefully for their sake, that it doesn't work.
Yeah.
You know?
It doesn't work in the long term. I think unfortunately it can work for long enough that you don't catch it. I mean, maybe
that may be.
Maybe in the mixing space or like the mastering space where you can really have like an online presence and just like trade dollars for tasks.
Right.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's not network, it's community.
Right. It's
a word we'll probably use plenty of times.
It is community.
Yeah. we both, before we got on, talked about how long it takes to like really get somewhere. Like you came to LA, I think you were starting at USC. What was your first year here like as a player? Like,
that's a good question.
Do you remember? Was it frustrating?
Well, so this is kind of the most important. This was the most crucial part of my whole career. So when I got here, like you said, I was at USC. I had just finished my undergrad in Florida, and I moved out here to start grad school to go to USC. And so as soon as I got here, first of all, my goal when I got here I wasn't coming here to like get a degree from USC. It wasn't like, this is why I'm coming here, because I want to go, obviously I wanted to. It was like a part of my journey, right?
Right.
But it wasn't like, my goal was, I'm going to come here and I'm going to start, I want to just like become a whatever. I want to become I want to go on tour. I want to do this. I wanted to have like a career in music, which is why I came to LA.
It's one of the places
USC,
you got to go.
Right. USC was kind of the conduit for me to do that. So I was planning to go there, and I did good in school and all this stuff. I focused, but at the same time, I made sure that I got out. I didn't insulate myself there. So I would go out. I would go meet people. I would, one of the first things that I did, I actually was discussing with Richard Smith, who at the time was the chair of the guitar department. Actually, no, it was Frank Potenza, but Richard was like the guy that he was the professor that I kind of like was taken under at that point. And so I had like an extra space in my schedule, and I needed an extra unit to fulfill like my full-time status or whatever.
Right.
So he and I devised a directed research project, and my project was to I talked about what my goals were. I don't know, maybe I want to tour, maybe I want to be a session guy, maybe I want to score films, maybe I don't know yet. I just want to kind of do it all.
Yeah.
So he's like, well, why don't you go ahead and seek out some pros in town that are doing that, and like interview them, talk to them, and transcribe those interviews and whatever and turn it in. That's your directed research project. Okay, cool. So I wound up thinking about a list of people that I wanted to, whose careers I wanted to like emulate.
Yeah.
Right. And so this is where the forming relationships kind of thing comes, because at the time I didn't understand networking and all this stuff. I was pretty shy. I really did not like to put myself out there. I still don't. But I sought out a few different people, one in particular that I already kind of had communications with, and someone who I'm still close with to this day, Jared Scharf. He, at the time, was the guitar player on the SNL house band, who would spend his summers in LA and then time off in LA. So I got in touch with him. Immediately, we became friends. You know what I mean? I kind of like we went out to dinner whenever. I asked him questions, and then we just became bros.
Yeah.
We've been friends ever since.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I reached out to Lyle Workman, who's a film composer and guitar player, amazing guitar player, session guitar player.
Yeah.
We connected through that and are still friends to this day. In fact, he lives 3 blocks away.
Does he really?
And we're very, very close.
That's awesome.
I reached out to a few different like touring musicians that I'm still friends with to this day that were at the time like on tour with like Avril Lavigne and like session guys that were playing like Daughtry records. And this is 2009. This is like a long time ago.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Just but those are the right names for 2009.
Right, exactly. I mean, Lyle was just coming off of scoring like Superbad and 40-Year-Old Virgin and all this stuff.
Yeah,
and, like,
they did Superbad at Capitol when I was a runner.
Oh, there you go.
One of the coolest sessions.
There you go.
We won't go down that hole, but badass soundtrack.
Yes. Well, this is how I kind of like became aware of him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I was a big fan of that soundtrack. The movie was funny, but then of course like the soundtrack was like, holy, this soundtrack is amazing.
And the band.
Yeah. And the band,
so
right. He had like Bootsy and he had all those guys, Clyde Stubblefield, he had all those legendary like funk guys. Right. So anyway, just to further the point about the relationships thing, like I formed a relationship. These are all people that I'm still friends with and I still talk to and work with to this day, right?
That's a big It's a big point that people should take in, that it was your first year here.
It was my
that
first
you spent like
few
meeting
months.
these people.
Yes.
And you still know most of them.
Still in touch and working with a lot of them. Like I still, obviously I'm in touch with Lyle. He hires me to play steel. Like we hang out, like we'll take walks and stop over at his house and hang out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So anyway, I was doing that kind of my first few months, and then also just like getting out and, Jared, my friend who I'd mentioned earlier, started putting my name out to people that were, I need a guitar player for this singer-songwriter that I'm producing or whatever for this gig at the Whiskey or whatever.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I started working
Yeah.
in town as a guitar player immediately.
Yeah.
Just because of that. And just being available, being responsible, coming in prepared, being on time. Jared genuinely liked me as a person, which is why I gained his trust to do that. Like we had never played together. He had never seen me play or anything, but he's like, we would talk about it years later, and he would just be like, yeah, you were cool, and I knew you weren't just full of shit. So I just felt comfortable, giving you a shot or whatever, throwing your name to this person or this person. And that's kind of how it all started for me.
That's awesome.
I started just like playing in town. I got on my first tour with a Nickelodeon star, going out, and like just all through that first initial like couple months, just like meeting people and getting into like sort of just like engrossing myself in the scene, like getting away from USC.
Yeah.
Obviously doing my USC stuff, but then like I would go hang out in Silver Lake. I'd go hang out in Los Feliz. I'd go hang out in Hollywood and just go and meet people that were playing, that were doing things. And then through the gigs that I was getting with the local singer-songwriters, my circle would expand because I would meet another one of my very close friends, a bass player, Alex Balderston, who we're still friends with to this day, and he's another guy who's just a working bass player. And so we started gigging together through the years and meeting our circles expanded, and so it just kind of became like that.
Yeah.
So my first year was really by the let's see, I moved in August. I moved here in August of 2009. By May of 2010, I was on tour. Like going to Mexico City and South America and stuff, and like playing on tour.
That's a trip.
You know what I mean? So it was like pretty quick.
That's awesome.
And then I left USC to just be like, I'm going to see what I can do.
That's
on
cool,
my
man.
own. Yeah.
That's great. Well, something that I wanted to highlight is that a lot of people think that doing what you did, like reaching out to Lyle, that would be annoying to him. But if you actually like reach out to someone in the right way and you really want to like meet that person and learn, they're actually flattered. They're not annoyed. Like I don't know if you've ever do you get emails or DMs from people like, how'd you do this? Like when you're the sender, it feels like you're annoying people. But when you're the receiver, you're like, this kid actually reached out. I will get the coffee. Let's do this.
Totally.
And
it doesn't happen as often as you'd think.
No.
I mean, maybe not for someone like me. Maybe for someone like, I don't know, someone who's like way beyond me, would probably be dealing with it a lot more. But, it happens every now and then. Like I'll get a DM from somebody, a kid or someone who's just thinking about, hey, I'm thinking about moving to LA. Like what advice, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Or I'd love to hang and get some coffee. And, you can usually read right away whether it's, I don't want to say genuine, or I guess a better way to put it is whether they're more interested in like getting a gig out of me or really like learning and getting some real advice to coming and figuring it out.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You could usually sniff that out. And so I'm always happy to answer questions from anybody or talk to anybody. I've guided a lot of people on pedal steel stuff, and like I'm thinking about getting into steel, blah, 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 and I try to be as helpful as I can. You know what I mean? You kind of need to do that. I mean, you can't just like come here and just do it by yourself. You need that community.
No. I definitely didn't do enough of that.
Yeah.
But I was lucky that I landed in a big studio and learned from people.
Right.
But yeah, it seems like I don't know. I think a lot of people don't do that, but it says a lot about the person.
Yeah.
If they're like, hey, I'm thinking about coming to LA, or want to come to Nashville. Like, do you have any tips? Like, I really want to make this work. You can tell when someone's really passionate and that this is what they're going to do. They're going to be a drummer or a guitar player or whatever.
Yeah.
They're not going to be able to be stopped. So I'm going to help that person. And then, like you said, other times you're like, you're looking for a couple bucks. And I don't
it's like, well,
you.
It's, that, and I got to say, it doesn't happen a lot.
No.
It's not often where it's like, I sniff it out.
Yeah.
And it's like, this guy's full of it. You know, like that's not super often, but I'll always leave the door open, like, especially for someone who's like, I'm thinking about moving to LA. It's always like, okay, well, let me know when you get here. We'll meet up. We'll hang.
That's a good, because then they're serious. Because they actually came.
And then when they come and it's like, yo, I'm here. Like, okay, cool. You're here.
You actually
hang
came.
out. And then we become friends. You know what I mean? And that happens a lot too. Yeah. You know what I mean?
People are always like, what part of town should I live in? I'm like, I don't know. What kind of person are you?
Exactly.
This place
What's
is crazy.
your tolerance for density? Yeah. You know what I
mean? Let's shift a little bit to sessions, right? Like, I came up through Capitol, so when I think session players, I'm, like Vinny, Dean Parks, like these like classic guys.
Yep.
Now there's a lot of younger guys like you that are breaking in. How did you break into that? Because that's a tight-knit community.
It's tight-knit. That's a really good question because, again, it's a lot of different factors, right?
You're right.
First of all, I think it's important to there's quite a few elements to being even ready to step into something like that, right? I guess at the base, it's about who's producing the record or who's making the record.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
That has a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
Right? Is the producer someone that you came up with, that trusts you and that likes your playing, right? Yeah. That's kind of number one. Or is the artist somebody that is like, I need to have Dan playing this. Right. I need to have this, because he gets it or for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like, I guess, the simplest way. Right.
Which is the majority.
Right.
I mean, hearing you say it, I'm like, oh, that question wasn't that great.
No, that's not true. That's not true. But again, because I get calls for a lot of things from people that I don't know,
Right.
Right. Maybe people that recommend or whatever, or even just people that come across whatever my content is on Instagram, which is just a highlight reel, basically. But I think about being ready to sort of dive into either sessions or touring or whatever, into three things. And you might notice I do a lot of like, there's 3 things, there's 6 things, whatever.
Right.
But I've thought about this a lot.
Okay.
And I've like definitely like designed like an idea around this. So the first thing is your own version of mastery of your instrument. And it's divided into 6 master skills: fluency, literacy, time, listening, imagination, and openness. And these are all kind of 6 skills that intersect with each other and create sub-skills and all lead to the center. If you imagine it like a Venn diagram, which I have, by the way, I'll send it to you.
Perfect.
The center of it is mastery. Okay. Which in my opinion is unattainable. That's another subject. That's another podcast. But it's just sort of a way to, are you fluent on your instrument? How good are you at listening to what's going on around you? How do you feel time? Are you literate in the style, in the essence of what's going on?
Yeah.
Are you imaginative? Can you kind of pull something out of the air and create something? Are you open to receiving, giving, trying things?
Yeah.
If you can kind of do all of those things, you're ready to, be dropped into any situation and be successful. Okay, there's the second thing. So we have this sort of idea of the 6 master skills. The second thing is why you, right? What's your niche? What's your thing? In my case, I'm a steel player. I'm a guitar player. And I keep pointing over here because there's a pedal steel right here.
Just unfortunately out of frame.
Maybe we'll take a picture of it. That's my niche, right?
Yeah.
I guess, amongst other things. Like, I'm a versatile guitar player. I could kind of play in any style kind of,
Right, right.
I'm not like as good of a country player as Brad Paisley, but I could get the sound on the telly and do the lick. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? But my niche is more or less, a couple of different things: pedal steel, slide, certain acoustic guitar techniques or whatever it may be. Whatever your niche is, lean into that, because that's going to be kind of, like I wouldn't necessarily be as good on like a metal session as my friend Myron, or I wouldn't be as good on a crazy R&B session as like my friend like Cam Griffin, like great R&B guitar player, great metal guitar player, whatever it may be. It's like,
Yeah,
that's not necessarily my niche, but I have a different niche. So it's like, what's yours? Right?
exactly.
Everyone's going to have a different one or a few different ones. And then the third thing is kind of going back to what we talked about before, like the intangible skills, right? Being prompt, being prepared, being kind, being yourself, you know what I mean? Being flexible.
Yeah.
All these things. Being confident. I don't know if I said that already, but all of these things that are sort of intangible, like people skills, that play a part in you being somebody that people want to work with,
Yeah.
and bring on board,
Yeah.
and trust, right?
I think my favorite part of that whole thing is the fact that you said your version of mastery,
Yep.
right? Because you're right. Mastery, it's like perfection, right?
Yeah,
you can
exactly.
strive. It doesn't like you're always going to want to do something else.
Exactly.
But understanding like where your strengths are and then tying that in, like knowing your niche, I think is huge. And I think a lot of people, anywhere, player or engineer, mixer, like a lot of people will take every gig, especially when they're young, which
Yep.
I agree with. You have to take every gig when you're young.
Totally.
But then once you figure out where you excel, is it to your benefit to take an R&B gig, or is it to your benefit to recommend Cam?
Yeah.
Because then you're like, I could do this, but I can get you something better if you call my buddy.
Right.
And that's almost like more trustworthy,
For sure. For sure.
But you have to figure out what your version of mastery and what your niche is. It's like, you just can't do this when you're 18 unless you started when you're 2.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true, man. And I've done that a lot of times too, where even on steel, where I'll be called for, it's like, I know what my niche is on steel even, which is a specialized instrument. But, somebody recently was like, do you do like bluegrass? Can you play like bluegrass on steel? And I'm like, honestly, no, it's not my thing.
Yeah.
You call Tommy DeBourbon for that. you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because, that is just like chops and speed and is something I'm still working on. Like, I'm not there. I'm not that kind of steel player, which I wish I was.
Yeah, right.
But I'm not, so you're right. It's like the honesty of that goes a long way.
How do you deal with...
I'm dropping in a lot of names, by the way. I hope my homies appreciate this.
How do you deal with like the scarcity mindset aspect of that? Like, how, like, do you have a hard time, or did you at one point have a hard time saying, try this person over me, when you knew you could get away with doing it?
That's a really interesting question, because I think when you're younger, you naturally just feel like a little bit more invincible.
Yes. Right? Yeah, totally.
So you're like, nah, fuck it. I could do that.
Yeah.
I'll do it. And then, whatever, you kind of get there and you're like, oh man, I might be a little bit over my head, but I'm going to try it anyway. And whatever, and hope that it comes out okay. Definitely been there.
Everybody has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as I got older and realized that, like you said, I have my own version of what I do and what I'm comfortable doing. And kind of to go a little bit deeper on something that you said before about saying yes to everything, as you kind of get deeper and deeper into this, you go into this idea of knowing what you're good at, where you excel, what you like to do. And you start sort of like pushing things away that don't necessarily suit your vision of wherever you're going, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes that's just the way it goes. And so as I've gotten deeper and deeper into my career, I've had less and less trouble backing out of things that I feel like maybe are too much for me. Uh, Either whatever it may be, like too much time commitment or too much this or too much learning curve of stuff.
Right.
Like I've gotten asked to come into a gig where it's like I had to learn the fiddle, and I'm like, no, I'm sorry, I just can't. I'm not going to do that. Younger me would have been like, let's go.
Let's do this.
I'm down. Let's go. I'm going to learn the fiddle. I'm going to do it. But current me is like, I don't have the bandwidth for that.
No.
I've got other things I need to do, and I wish I could. I
Yeah.
wish I could, but I just can't.
Yeah.
You know, so there are just certain things where, you know, being honest with yourself and checking in with yourself and being like, how can I like bring my best? It's like if I feel like I can't bring my best to whatever it is, whether it's a production, you know, you get called, I'm sure you do too, like, hey, I found you here. I really think you'd be a good fit to produce this thing. And then you listen to it and you're like, you know what? I can't bring my best to this.
Yeah.
Like, it's either not your vibe or it's just something that's out of your wheelhouse or something that, you know, you just have to be comfortable with. There's plenty of work for you elsewhere. There's plenty of work for everybody. You know what I mean? There is plenty. Luckily,
it doesn't seem like it when you start out.
Like it when you start out,
but there is.
But there is. There's a lot of work for everybody. Everybody's got to think somebody else would be better for this, and you know you got to take yourself out of the equation and think about like what the product is.
Yeah.
You know, and think about too like your name's going on this. You know, you are doing this. You are committing to doing this thing. If you can't do your best and you can't bring your best to this thing, how is that going to look on you? You know, when this comes out and it's like it's your name on it and it's not that good, you know?
Yeah.
You know, and I guess that's subjective to everybody. But if you don't feel good about it, do you want to have that out there? You know, I wouldn't.
No.
Right?
No. I think a lot of people, they don't realize like where they want to go. I feel like you have to do this for a while before you have this vision of like, this is what I want to do.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
think you have to get older and I think when
you
you
know
have kids,
what?
it changes immediately.
For sure.
Yeah.
And it always changes, right? It's ever evolving.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
It's ever evolving. But, you know, once you get by year 10, you kind of have like a general trajectory. And then you start to follow those things. I mean, there's still a lot of things that I haven't done that much that maybe I would like to do more eventually. Maybe currently I don't necessarily have the capacity to do, but maybe down the road I would like to do some of that stuff. Who knows, you know? But at the end of the day, it's like all about like just always being honest with where you're at and knowing like what you can bring to the table and what will best, you know, what kind of projects your skills will shine on.
Yeah.
With where you're at right now.
Yeah, where you fit.
And then and then also deciding like which projects you can take that maybe will start to stretch certain muscles safely.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And not like necessarily diving headfirst into something that's just way over your head.
Yeah.
But maybe taking some of those things that you can stretch a little here, you can stretch a little there, you can experiment a little here. So maybe a couple years down the road, you can feel more confident about taking that bluegrass gig or whatever it may be once you kind of hone that a little bit more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Do you think, you know, I have that same, when you're younger, you feel invincible. Like I've like literally said I could, you know, run Logic, I'll do a gig tomorrow, and then like bought Logic and like learned Logic. I did that one day.
Yes.
Right. And like I got away with that.
That's how I started playing steel.
Yeah. So I don't know, do you think if you crash and burn doing that early on, that it's detrimental long term to your reputation? Or do you think people are like, he's been here for 2 years, he fucked up?
That's a good question too.
I guess it depends on to what level did you make a mistake.
Right. But, yeah. I think it is important to kind of fall on your face a little bit.
I agree.
I think so. Not to the point where it's like, this guy, he's a total liar. He doesn't know how to do any of this stuff. He's a total poser. Like, you don't want to be like that.
Yeah.
But, you know, when I first started playing steel, right after I bought the pedal steel, I had a little bit of experience on lap steel, and I kind of like learned a couple of things like right off the bat and like sort of how it was laid out and how it sort of worked. I had a gig coming up that I was playing lap steel on for like 2 songs, and I told the artist, "Hey, I just got a pedal steel, like, I'm gonna play it on this song." And, I had only had the pedal steel for, like, 5 days, you know what I mean? But I learned, like, where the chords were,
Right.
how to do it, and went to the gig and did it. It did not sound great. It didn't sound horrible. It wasn't like the worst thing you've ever heard,
Right.
but it wasn't like this beautiful, smooth, glassy singing pedal steel.
Yeah.
It was just like very like clunky and this and that and whatever. Um, so in a way it was like, was that a bold move? Yes.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Was it a smart move? Maybe.
Yeah.
Because in order to get better at something, maybe you'd agree with me, you kind of have to hold your own feet to the fire and you have to sort of like be forged in that fire a little bit.
I'm definitely like that.
Yeah. And you kind of come out the other. So like after that gig, I was like, okay, like I did the one song with 4 chords in it
Yeah.
and I figured it out and I didn't really take any risks around it other than like what I knew that I could do. And it didn't sound amazing. And maybe I fucked up a couple of times. Maybe I hit the wrong string or I hit a bad chord or a bad note or whatever, but it wasn't catastrophic.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It was just enough of a stretch to go, okay, like I could do this. It gave me the confidence to do it. But at the same time, I wasn't like, oh yeah, like I could anything. Just I could do anything.
Sign me up.
Yeah, sign me up. Like I'll play steel on everything you got. Like
Yeah.
that wasn't the case.
Yeah. Well, there's a big confidence gain from like stretching yourself, which I think is why it's so important to like whenever you feel like you're just comfortable,
Mm-hmm.
you got to find something to like step outside that boundary.
Yeah.
You know, and just push yourself.
But that's part of like a growth mindset, right? Like,
Yeah.
like we were talking as you were setting up, like I was kind of admiring like all your lights and all this stuff. And I'm like, and you said, yeah, I just had to learn something new.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I relate to that. I mean, that's why I started playing the steel and started learning engineering and mixing and all that stuff. It's because like, well, I have to learn. I always have to be like learning something new and like learning a new skill. And, you know, do
Yeah.
I think I'm a good mixer? I think I'm okay, but I'm nowhere near you, I'm sure. Like, you know what I mean?
Well, but I think understanding.
I'm working towards it. You know what I
Exactly.
mean?
Yeah.
Right?
But understanding the whole process, I
Yeah.
think, helps you communicate too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So even if you're not mixing the record you're playing on,
Yeah.
you can communicate with the producer
Yeah.
in like a sonic palette.
Sure.
And then you can mix the next record.
Sure.
You know what
Sure.
I mean? So
Sure.
yeah, it's funny. I saw it's absolute bizarre tangent, like an Instagram post of like Tom Cruise saying that he's disappointed that younger actors don't understand like lenses and lighting because he's like, it helps you perform if you understand what's going on the other side. And I think that applies.
I totally
mic
agree.
technique
Totally
and stuff
agree.
like that.
Totally agree.
A story I tell way too many times is recording Dean Parks.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, he was just playing like a classical part. And I went with the traditional like 12th, you know.
Yeah. Just right.
And,
right
and
here.
he looked at me and he's like, this guitar,
Put it over
we
here.
do it over here.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm like, whatever, man.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
where it goes. I'm going
Right.
to put it right there and we're going to go in there
It's
and
so
record.
important to know that, dude. It's
Yeah.
so important to know that and to not be like, you know, when I first started playing on sessions here and stuff, like I had it in my brain. It's like, this is, I don't know anything about any of this stuff and I don't care. I'm
Yeah.
just here to play guitar.
Right.
But then over time, when like you started getting people with more like recording stuff at their house, it's like, oh, I should have paid attention to this. Like, what do I need? What does this mic do?
Yeah.
What is this? What is, you know, and I was like producing my band's records like in my parents' like office, like in a spare bedroom closet. You know, I was doing that. Like
Right.
I had that mindset, but I didn't know anything about what I was doing, like how to get a good sound, how to like, you know, mix. To me, it was just like, oh, I'll just put the mic here and here and just like do it. And it was cool. It was a thing. But, you know, it took me a long time to sort of really care about patch bass and
Yeah.
bus compression and EQ. Like that to me, like at first was like, I don't know. But then over time, I became very, very interested because it helped me be better in the studio,
Yeah.
like you said.
I'm the opposite, right? I've always been super technical.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until there's two records that I made. Did I say super technical or super? I was super technical. If I said musical, that was wrong.
Yeah, no, you said super technical.
Always like, I have to fix the resonance. The EQ has to be perfect and all of that stuff that doesn't really matter. And there's two records that I can think of. One, an artist named Lofang, and then another one, my friend Corey Britz. And Corey self-produced, and the producer on Lofang was Francois Titaz. Both of those people were extremely musical.
Mm-hmm.
And it really made me realize that like what the engineer and the mixer is doing doesn't matter if it's not in service of the music. And do I need to EQ that bizarre frequency out if it doesn't matter?
Yeah.
Like if the point is that the guitar is like the focus and it has to be it's the music. And I feel like it makes engineering and mixing easier when you think about it,
when you bring musicality to it.
Exactly. Like, is this the perfect guitar sound? No, but it fits into this song.
Yeah.
So we're going to record it this way.
Yeah, I feel like it's so important as an engineer or a mixer and a producer to be musical.
Yeah.
You know, like if you're not like
to be a listener.
Well, yeah, but to also understand, like you said, like is this the right thing for this thing, right? You're sort of like an interior designer in that way, or like you're sort of like, does this color go with this fabric? You know, whatever it is. Does this texture mix with this texture? Like, do I have too much? What am I going for? Right?
Yeah.
And being a mixer, you know, some of the best mixers that I know are super musical because, you know, they understand all the technical stuff, but they're also like, yeah, this thing, it's just doing, you know, whatever. Yeah. They know how to use that technical knowledge to get the musical result.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And it was in production as well. Like it's to have both.
Yeah.
Like a frequency technical mindset and then a musical mindset. Like a guitar player can play a part that's like gorgeous and the producer can say, can we try that up so it occupies this space and doesn't occupy this space because that amazing organ is down here. So let's take this part and go up.
Yeah.
And so when you like, that's back to where it's important to have both sides.
Yes.
You know, because then you can contribute fully and like really find what serves the artist and the music. So
yeah. So yeah, I think, you know, knowing a lot of that stuff too, like also contributes just to the original question of like, how do you get this thing, or how do you, you know, not necessarily that I'm getting like a lot of mixing gigs necessarily. I mean, sometimes, but more so like I understand how my guitar or my steel is supposed to fit into the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
Right. From a production standpoint or from a sonic standpoint. So it's like, you know, what do you like to do on the steel? Oh, well, it's like, it depends on what you want. Do you want it more this way? Do you want it more this way? You know, to be able to answer those technical questions to somebody who might not have much experience with recording that instrument.
I think something that I used to never do when I was younger, but I'll do in a heartbeat now is ask the player. Yeah. Like, especially like odd percussion.
Yeah.
You know, and you're just like,
how do you like to mic this?
Where should I put this? Like, where's the sound going to come out? You know, and you can always like, walk around and listen, which is a great, you know, like what's it sound like if I put my ear here? That's going to be, you know, relative to what the mic sounds like. But yeah, it's like where everybody's working together, right? It's a team.
Exactly.
The goal is great record. Yep. How are we going to get there?
Yeah, everybody has the same goal.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. So that's how you get the gig.
Yeah, exactly. Be a team player. At its core, just be a team player, right? It's like the first thing that we talked about. Like, don't be an asshole. Like, just be a team player.
Totally.
You know what I mean? Ask questions. Be open. Be curious. Be, you know, whatever. Be imaginative. Whatever it is, you know? It's all those things.
If you enjoyed this conversation, the algorithm gods think you'll also dig this one. So check it out, and I'll see you back here for the next one.